Today we shall be working on a 2008 BMW 325i, replacing the starter motor. As you can see, I have already dug pretty deep into this job. The manifold is loose and ready to come out, but I'm going to throw everything back on quickly to show you how I proceeded with this job. As this is my first time doing this, I had to, do it step by step to find out the best way for me to do it. I know there are ways other people do it without taking the manifold off, but I think it might be a little bit problematic for some people to handle that way. Again, please watch this video in its entirety before you start the job. Okay, first what we're going to do is disconnect the battery cable from here and down in here, negative and positive and negative down in there. And then we'll proceed to moving this cover right here. Okay, it's held down by two here and here. And then we will proceed to remove the airbox. All right, with that, there's two 10 millimeters holding this down. One here and one there. Once that's removed, with a Phillips screwdriver, you can undo the clamp from the bellows to the airbox, unplug the sensor right here, and simply by depressing this and pulling it off. Once that's done, I'll proceed to removing the bellows. Just trace this down to where it joins to the intake. It's a screw clamp like this with a Phillips screwdriver or the appropriate size socket. You can loosen that clamp and pull this out. I took this out in two pieces. You don't really need to. Okay, the other piece is down in here. All right, you just have to reach down through here. Use a light, get down there, reach down through there, and undo that clamp, and that will pull out. And that's another clamp up top on this little hose. Make sure you get that too. Take your time, look around, and find these things. Trace it by hand until you feel the clamp, and loosen them. Okay, be careful when you're removing any rubber pieces, because sometimes they're dry and brittle, and if they are brittle, replace them. Okay, then I came up top. This one had a 10 millimeter here with a Phillips head to remove that. The one in the back was broken off, so I don't know if these are original. But if they're not 10 millimeter, find the appropriate size. Now to get to the back one, you will need to loosen this, to take this whole piece here off, because you need to access the screws that hold the manifold down from back there also. So simply to remove this top piece, you turn, there's three of these. One in the middle, one on this end, and one on this end. Just twist them like through 90 degrees, remove it, and this piece actually covers your cabin filter. Just simply pull that out. Once that is out, there will be four T30. I believe they're T30s. I could not find my T30, so I used a T25. It didn't fit properly, but thank God they were not too tight, and it was able to loosen them. And these are the screws look like this. Okay? Once those four are loosened, this piece will come out. With this out of the way, next step is to remove, just pull this out. This harness right here, right, snaps under the carrier. Right here, this is the piece that holds the cabin filter. It snaps underneath here. So unsnap it, just pull it out. and come over here by the master cylinder, and that piece runs through here. Pull that out. What I did, you can spray a little WD-40 lubricant on here and wiggle this out. The vacuum for your power brake booster. Once that's done, there's 2 screws holding this cover in place. You need that out of the way. Okay, so remove these screws. These were like, I believe, 13 millimeter screws. One here and one in the back here. Once you have done that, get that harness out of the way, jiggle this, and you tilt it towards you and work it out of the way. Okay, with that done, we'll come over here and proceed to remove this cover here. With this, you see over there where it's broken? This cover, once you move that out, there's a number of screws holding the manifold down on the top, right under the fuel rail. Look down in there. There's one right here. Let me get my screwdriver and show you. I took one out of this hole right here. Right, there's one. There's 2 back here, and then there's 2 in line with each other here, 2 more here in line with each other, and then another one here and another one way up in the back. Once you have removed that, you should be able to wiggle the manifold around a little bit, but it will not come out because you have a bolt all the way down in here to attach. Usually when you have a manifold that overhangs like this, you will have it supported, from a bracket that's below the manifold. All right, so you have to feel down. You can't really see it. You feel down underneath there, and I felt like a brace going across, and I traced it down to the block, ran my hand down to the block, and it turned out to be a 16 millimeter, I believe, 16 millimeter bolt that held that down, either 15 or 16. I'm pretty sure it was 16 that held that down to the block. But before getting to that, you have, that's a little, this piece right here that carries some of the wire harness will be attached, 1 screw right here and 1 screw on the other side. You have to loosen that so you can get access back here. I also loosened out the pipe for the dipstick. Trace that down, you'll find it's held on with 1 screw. Once you loosen that screw, you can get more movement in this area. And feeding your hand through here, tracing it down to where that bolt is that holds that. Once you do that, this whole attachment should be ready to come out. Okay, but be careful. There might still be some wires or hoses hooked up to it, so move it gently. If it wouldn't come all the way out, feel around it and see what's holding it on and detach those things gently. Okay, in moving this around, I can see that this piece right here is attached, and on inspection, I can simply pull it and wiggle it out because there's a bracket on there that this piece right here, see that slot right there, slides onto that bracket. So in freeing that from that, I have to jiggle it and see where else is being held. I can see some hoses up in the back, so I have to find the best way of disconnecting those, okay? Now, down underneath here, right, there's a quick connect hose like this where you press this piece right here. You squeeze that and pull it out. This here came from the valve cover. So all you do is you grab it on either side of it and squeeze it and wiggle it off. Same thing I had to do. Let me see if I can show you. Down here with this one right here. Okay? That attached at the bottom of the manifold. Okay, instead of pulling the manifold completely off because the wires for the injector rail are attached and a few other things are attached, I was able to move it a little bit out of the way, and there go the starter right down there. Let me get a light so you can see. Starter sitting right down there. Okay, now I hook up the battery, and what I decided to do was try to jump the starter. And at first, with the key, I was getting nothing, no current or anything, no sound coming up from the starter. But when I jump it, it seemed like it's locked. So right now, I'm thinking this engine is seized. This car was brought in. Somebody just bought this vehicle from someone who told them all it needed was a starter. And it appears that this engine is locked up. But I would try and turn the crank manually and see if I can turn it. If I cannot, oh God, I have lost this money on this deal. Now I'm trying to turn this by turning the fan. There's a big nut on the fan where the fan attaches to the pulley, and that size is 1 1/4 inch. Wrench fits that. Now I can get it to move. It sounds like it's under compression. When I move it in the other direction, it moves freely. As I was saying before, we were so rudely interrupted by the other phone. If I try to turn this engine counterclockwise, it turns as if it's under compression. If I turn it clockwise, it turns freely. And if I try to continue turning it clockwise, let me see what will happen. Still turning freely. Keep going that way and see if it locks up. Then I would say maybe we have a coolant leaking into the cylinder. What's going on here? Can I get it on? Okay, you don't need to watch all of this, but let me keep turning and see what happens. Okay, yes, I believe that's a hydraulic lock, so it might be water in the cylinder, 1 or 2 cylinders, because the engine turned maybe about half a turn freely or so, and then it locked up again. So my next move is to pull the spark plugs and see what happens. If there's water in the cylinder, it should come gushing out as I crank it.